And we're back, everybody, here on YouTube, into the studio, talking about the Salomon S-Lab Sense 8 SG. That's right, aggressive trail running, aggressive trail racing. That is the focus of today's vlog. And hope you had a great weekend. Hope you have a great week ahead of training. I don't know about you. Let me know down in the comments, like, what are the temperatures? This is not the question of the day, but what are the temperatures like where you live? And I train better in warmer temperatures. I really do. I don't mind the hot temperatures. I feel like my legs warm up quicker. Anyway, I am just loving this summer. And it's actually an interesting topic of conversation, probably for another vlog on another day, as far as preparing for peak races and how winter training versus summer training and like fall marathons versus spring marathons. We'll leave that for another day. All right, here we go. Before we get too sidetracked, here we go. Salomon S-Lab Sense 6, 2018. Sense 7, 2019. And now, the Sense 8 All SG, just so you know, 2020, okay? And I am going to do some very, very simple comparisons between the 8, 7, and 6 as we move along here. And just so you know, I didn't know this for the longest time, but the SG, I almost wish companies would spell out exactly what they mean by these acronyms, but SG is soft ground, meaning there's a version of the shoe that actually has lugs on the bottom of the shoe that are not as deep. And I'll just tell you right now, these are 6mm. These lugs are designed more for soft ground, meaning muddy conditions, wet conditions, or in my case here in Colorado, like up on Pikes Peak or other areas of the state, some of the trails are really gravelly, meaning there's loose little pebbles on the trail. So that is why I always opt for the SG version, which some people have pushed back against on, like, Seth, why would you get SG in Colorado when you're training in really rocky, hard conditions? But frankly, a lot of the trails are not always buffed out and hard packed because of those little pebble rocks. All right, just wanted to mention that up front. Here we go. 4mm drop from heel to toe, 22mm in the heel, 18 in the forefoot for that 4mm slope inside the shoe. A decent slope I honestly would prefer for a racing shoe, and I will say, this is absolutely a racing shoe, very aggressive trail racing shoe. I'd prefer 6, maybe even 7 or 8. 4 is a little low for a racing shoe for me, but it is what it is. And as far as the weight goes, it's a unisex shoe. So for men's size 9 and women's size 8, well, basically you're gonna buy the exact same shoe because they just make one shoe for men and women. So men's size 9, you're looking at 7.4 ounces or 210 grams. And actually, just as a quick reminder, I believe it's 6.7 in my size. Let's put it on. Yes, on the money, at least right now, 6.7 ounces. And let's do the test between the Sense 8 and the Sense 7. So here's the Sense 7, 6.77. So last year's iteration is just a little heavier, not by much, but the big jump is from the Sense 6 in 2018. We're looking at 7.4. So over the past 2 years, good job, Salomon. In fact, great job, Salomon. You've been able to drop about 0.6 ounces off of the shoe, which for a racing shoe is absolutely spot on. I love the innovation, able to drop the weight of the shoe. And frankly, I predict it's just going to continue to drop as they develop better midsole materials and fine-tune the upper as well just a little bit. And speaking of the upper, let's dive into it. So major updates to the upper. So just so you know, the SG version has this built-in gaiter, whereas the non-SG version does not. So I think their idea is that if you're running through really muddy conditions, which is why you would buy, or rocky conditions with little pebbles and you're kicking pebbles up, they don't want that debris to end up inside the shoe as you're racing, which I understand. So they put this little, actually this pretty pronounced gaiter compared to the Sense 7. You can see it there. It's a non-stitch upper, I should say it's a mesh upper, non-stitch, one piece of what they're calling a welded upper. So it's all one material. In fact, they lost the tongue from the Sense 7 to the Sense 8. So it's just actually the Alpha Fly from Nike, the marathon racing shoe, is also just one piece of upper material. That is also what is happening. That's kind of the best comparison I can come up with respect to a racing shoe that I've tried in 2020. So it's just one piece of material on the upper. And from what I can tell, it's the exact same. Yeah, it's really looking like the exact same stitching pattern for the mesh compared to the Sense 7 and the Sense 8. They did add a little bit of padding on top of the tongue, which I like, just a little bit of padding for that quick lace system. And I will say it is a quick lace system, so that classic, you don't tie the shoes, it's a quick lace system. You pull and then you cinch down with this piece of plastic here, and then it tucks into this pocket here, right on top of the tongue. And I'm gonna come back to that pocket in 1 second. Also, on the medial side, which is the inside of the shoe, and the lateral side, the outside of the shoe, they added a little bit of padding here on the basically on the sides of the heel counter, right at the back of the shoe there, which I think is to help if you're kicking. Sometimes you kick yourself, or sometimes a rock will pop up on a trail and nail the side of your foot. It doesn't feel good, so I think we'll see. But I think that little piece of padding there on both medial and lateral side is a good move by Salomon. Overall, I'm pleased with the upper updates, but I am going to have a few little critiques in my drawbacks here in 1 second. Moving on to that midsole, it is an Energy Cell Plus Midsole is the official trademarked name that Salomon gives to their midsoles. Dual density, so the density, which is, I'm learning now a new word, durometer, which is basically how, and I'm not going to get into the science now, but when you press into the midsole, what is the resistance that you get? So the red here in the forefoot and the black here in the heel is a different density, just so you know. And speaking of durometer, that new word, they are saying that this new midsole in 2020 is a little softer than 2019. I did not notice it. Again, I've only run in this shoe once. I'll continue testing. And again, it comes back down to how hard you can, how much pressure it takes to press into the shoe and what that response, that energy return is like. We shall see. One last point on the midsole is they do have this harder plastic here. You can see it exposed there. They call it the Pro Feel Film, just to help protect from the rocks a little bit. And I think that is a smart move. How much weight that adds to the shoe, I'm not exactly sure. They also say that it's helping with the stability of the ride. Again, we'll keep testing, but I think, yeah, if you're running in rocky conditions, that is not a bad move. I just hope that Pro Feel Film piece of plastic doesn't add too much weight to the shoe, but at the same time, you really don't, in a race when you're going fast, you really don't want a rock poking in, to the bottom of your foot. It can really hurt. And actually, in the moment of racing, you might not notice it, but then afterward, you could really get a deep bruise into the. I've done it before. In fact, I think I'm still recovering from one from 2019, where it's just a really deep bruise on your foot, and it can take in my experience, it can take a long, long time for that deep bruise to heal. And as I already mentioned, that 6mm lug depth on the outsole, absolutely. So I'm always looking for more bite in racing shoes. Frankly, I don't really care if the trail is packed down, unless it's like a dirt road. Yeah, you're gonna feel those lugs and it might not feel the most comfortable, but I'm always looking for a little more bite in my foot strike. Like if the trail has any sort of elevation gain or elevation change, I just want to bite the ground and just have the best grip as possible. So I'm always going to opt for the soft ground version. Now I do think you can get too far down the road of lug depth being too, like 8mm, like the Mud Claws from Innovate, I believe, are 8mm lug depth. Yeah, that's probably getting too high for a overall hard packed trail. But right now, I'm always gonna go with soft ground for that outsole. Here in Colorado, yeah, maybe, I don't know, even in the desert, I'm thinking like Arizona or New Mexico, like, areas that have a little bit of sand, always going soft ground. For the comfort of the upper and the ride, I'm gonna put it low. It's not very comfortable. I'm just gonna say it, like, it's not uncomfortable, but this is not plush. The midsole is not plush. You're in this shoe to get out there and rock and roll. Now for my positive and drawback of the Sense 8, I'll start with the drawback actually first. So I had a little bit of pain, and I'm seeing some other reports of this as well. This lace pocket, on my left foot, it was pressing into the top of my foot. So this little piece of plastic here tucks into the pocket here, and I had to actually move it around and stop once and just try and figure out the right configuration for that lace. It was basically just pressing into the top of my foot. and it didn't feel good. Did not feel good at all, which that did not happen in the Sense 7 last year. So you gotta figure that out, Salomon. I don't know what's going on. I'll keep testing. Also, last drawback is I don't know if I love the feel of this gator. I've never had major issues of debris like rocks or mud, or I don't really care if water gets in the collar of the shoe. So this is the Sense 7. I had no issues with rocks getting inside my shoe. And this feel wrapping around my ankle, I'm gonna have to get you, it's so tempting to take scissors and just cut this off, everybody. I don't know if I love the feel, so stay tuned. I might end up cutting it off. I just don't know if I like that gator feel. We'll keep testing out for all of you. So those are my drawbacks. My positive, the weight. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna put it on the screen. In men's size 9, the Hoka EVO Jaws, which is basically the equivalent shoe for racing on the trails to the Salomon S-Lab Sense 8 SG. Here's the weight comparison. I believe this guy is lighter. So the weight is absolutely my positive. If you want to go fast on the trails, this is the shoe I want to race in. And just to confirm, how will I use this shoe moving forward? Racing, fast FKTs, a vertical kilometer type of race, but also I'm gonna say that I'm gonna be testing this shoe out for longer efforts as well. You know, past the half marathon distance. At this point, I'm planning for this to be my Pikes Peak Marathon racing shoe, but stay tuned. I'll keep testing and see how it does, let's say past 15 miles, past 20 miles, and just see how the legs respond to a lower stack height going that type of distance. And onto that price point, $180. Oh boy, $180. That's pricey. And now considering the Sense 7 is only $90 right now, $180, very interesting. Are the updates to the upper, which are the biggest updates absolutely between 2019 and 2020, is it worth $90? At this point, I'm gonna say no, but I'll keep testing and let you know. So that's a lot of money for a racing shoe. I'd just be so much happier if this shoe was coming in at that $160 price point. There you have it. First impressions in the book, Salomon S-Lab Sense 8 SG. Again, I'm going to be doing another FKT effort on, I think Thursday it is, up in Buena Vista, and I'm going to take this shoe out for the attempt, so I'll have more data to report back to all of you after that. All right, question of the day. Since we're talking about racing shoes today, I want to know what races in your neck of the woods, wherever you live in the world, all around the world. Thank you for watching, by the way, on a global scale. What races are still happening where you live over the next 2, 3, 4 months? Let's say between June and September. What races are happening? Trail races, even road races, even though we're talking about a trail shoe today. I'm just curious to see, like, in fact, I got a report today, or yesterday, that there's a 5K happening in Colorado. And I'm like, where is it? Where is it happening? Like, it's happening, I think, in July. So anyway, a real 5K with people like in person. I'm just curious to see. All right, everybody, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Onward and upward. We'll toss it back, of course, to my full review of the Salomon S-Lab Sense 7 SG. Salomon S-Lab Sense 7 SG from 2019. Oh, you guys are the best. See beauty, work hard, and love each other. See you tomorrow.